Is there a place in the world where you're not known?
No.
Today's guest is one of the biggest musicians in the world.
In the history of music.
But I want to talk about your life from the perspective of being a songwriter.
That's why I find this such an interesting podcast to come on.
Why didn't you give up?
I didn't have a plan B.
Do you run out of ideas?
I go through seasons. So I'll have days where I'm just on, and then I'll have months where it's shit. Putting yourself out there like that until it's successful, it is embarrassing because you've got nothing to show for it. And I think the only solace you can find is that you love it. You know, all your friends go to university and then they start getting jobs and they're comfortable, they have money and blah, blah, blah. And you're the one that turns up not having showered for 4 days, wearing the same socks for a week.
I can't thank you enough on behalf of all songwriters.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. You're like the first person to like publicly say thank you.
If you were to give your kids the advice when they say, I want to do music, what do you say to them right now? This season is presented by NMPA, the National Music Publishers Association, champions of songwriters and publishers everywhere. Welcome to And the Writer Is. I'm your host, Ross Golan. Today's legend went from busking street corners to selling out stadiums without compromising his humility. This icon is one of the most streamed artists of all time, including multiple songs in the top 10. Amongst his long list of accolades, he's a 4-time Grammy winner and an Ivor Novello Award honoree. But he's not only an artist, he's a songwriter. He's penned smashes for and with Justin Bieber and The Weeknd, Taylor Swift, One Direction, BTS, and so many others. All the way from the United Kingdom, this painter is maybe one of the greatest songwriters of all time, but he's still just dad at home. And the writer is Ed Sheeran.
That's a very sweet intro. Thank you.
So we've actually, the first time we met, which I'd be surprised if you remember, because I went and looked this up last night. This is an amazing truth. It was backstage at a Mac Miller concert.
Damn,
in 2013,
you were that one.
And Hammerstein Ballroom.
Yeah, and I brought Kit Harington. Do you remember that?
Oh, whoa! I did not know that.
Me and Kit turned up, and we got Kit to like bring on Mac's like drink halfway through, and Mac didn't know he was there, and he obviously watched Game of Thrones and was just like, "Oh my god, Jon Snow's on stage." Yeah, that was a mad gig because he also had. Was J. Cole opening up for him, or was J. Cole just there? Because Chance was there as well, and Skrillex was there. Well, a mad show.
What I remember from it was I had just landed, and I was meeting up with Benny. I was with Amar Malik, and we showed up in the backstage. I think we were like maybe missed whoever was opening.
Yeah, I think it was Chance.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. Everyone starts doing shots, and it's you and Benny and Skrillex, Sonny, Amar and me in like a circle doing a shot. And then everyone starts freestyling. And the whole time I was like, I'm really tired. And if you come to me, I'd just been flying, I'm going to start like scatting.
I can't remember it being bad. So it obviously like...
It wasn't bad enough for you to remember it. That's good. Do you often freestyle backstage at shows?
Nah. It used to be a thing. I'd say from like age 14 to 24, I'd say. I like loved freestyle rap battles and just constantly, I'd say it kind of like fed into my songwriting actually, because I feel like a lot of that is multi-syllable punchlines, and I feel like even a song like A-Team is written like a rap multi-syllable, like they say it, you know, A-Team, they scream, face cream, you know, like it's like all of that came from like me watching rap battles as a kid.
Yeah, it's weird. When I talk to writers about being multisyllabic, you can it takes up so much real estate that you become less wordy the bigger your words are.
Yeah.
You know, the sophistication of your song improves.
I've sort of like, I don't know, I kind of like, for me, songwriting now is sort of two different like things on a fork. And I'll either go like super wordy, super lyrical, super like heart songwriting, or I'm kind of more in melody. And that's what's important to me, is like, how do the words fit into the melody? I'm not trying to like push in a triangle into a square. I'm just like, I want the words to sound great with the melody. I'm not really thinking too much about the story of it. But then I think on a record, you could then got to balance out that with real lyrical songs. So yeah, that I've sort of got to that point in life where sometimes melody is king, you know?
You asked me before we started rolling, what band would I be super excited to see? And I said, I mean, I don't know. It feels like you have to say the Beatles. Feels like everybody else is second. And you had an opinion about the Beatles, which goes to the idea of like, in a way, words versus melody.
Sort of, yeah. But I still do think McCartney's words are top tier as well. But I do think I think a lot of people, when I was in school, a lot of people would just team John Lennon and were just like, John Lennon's the best. And John Lennon, like, obviously, like, oozes cool. He oozes cool. And I guess in some scenarios, people might not think the same about McCartney. But I think that song-wise, if you think about like the headlines, the who are the Beatles, what will they be remembered for in 200 years' time? One of the songs will be Yesterday. That's a McCartney song. One of the songs will be Hey Jude. That's a McCartney song. One of the songs will be Blackbird. That's a McCartney song. Let It Be, Long and Winding Road. Like, they're all like the headline, you know, if you look back at people like Bach and Beethoven, like the ones that they like known for. If you look in 200 years' time of the Beatles, I'd say probably 8 out of 10 of those songs will be McCartney songs.
When do you have time to paint?
When I've switched off from everything else. I do it if I've come off tour and I've been really intense in the studio and I'm just like, I need a break. I still want to be creative. I still need an outlet in something. I still want to make things, and that's when I went into painting. But I only gave them to friends originally, and then Damien's manager Joe, I gave him one, and then he was like, I want to exhibit this and I want to sell these. I have a music foundation, and he was like, we'll sell it and we'll give the money to your music foundation. And then I sort of saw a purpose of like putting my head above the parapet a bit, because it's sort of like entering into the art world. What is art, basically? And I was like, I'm going to sell this art, and then suddenly you are open to all sorts of criticism. And for me to put my head above the parapet, I was like, it's for a very good cause, and at least I can like live with that. But like the amount of discourse you get from, I don't know, trying things that people think that you shouldn't try.
You know, it's like the Billy Joel releasing a classical album. It's a little bit of like, to the critics, it's kind of like, go fuck yourself anyway, because like this guy has earned the right to go and release art that he wants to release, and it's good. You guys just think that the word criticism means that you have to critique something. Yeah,
I think people were just annoyed that I was given a space to exhibit the art, and we made like $1.2 million from the sale of it, which all goes into like, you know, underprivileged kids getting instruments and music lessons and blah blah blah. So to find any fault in that, I think you have to be a little bit weird. But I do think that it's the art world is kind of like the music world. There's a lot of like hate for success in it, and yeah.
Well, I think it's good, and also fuck those people who have an opinion about it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's, I know that your life is been, reviewed a bunch, where people, have their documentaries, their people discuss a lot, but I want to talk about your life from the perspective of being a songwriter.
That's why I find this such an interesting podcast to come on, because I feel like I've never dove into that. It's always me as an artist. And I think it's like there's two strings to my bow, and one of them is an artist and one of them is a songwriter.
Is it, I mean, I want to ask some of the questions I'll be asking later, but is it hard when you write a song from an honest place? You've had success from thinking you were writing a song for someone else and releasing it yourself, and you've had success for writing something that you thought was for yourself that somebody else cut. How emotionally attached are you to your songs?
Depends, really. It depends what the song is and what it means. And, there are some songs that, like the entirety of Subtract, I don't think anyone could sing that other than me. I think that came from a real like dark emotional time that I'm very connected to those songs. And also like sometimes the songs that go for other people to sing, they are all super commercial tunes. They are like inherently pop songs. There's only a couple of times that I've written with people and done like their deep cut. I usually would do their radio single. So there's only a couple of times. I'd say like working on Jessie Ware's record, it was very much that we like wrote songs that were so like emotional and tied to her story. Whereas like I'd say most of my cuts in songwriting outside of my own stuff have been big pop songs like BTS and One Direction and Bieber and et cetera, et cetera. So it's a bit more, you have less attachment to them.
Well, shout out to Jessie. She's a lovely human.
Yeah.
All right, so you're born. Let's start there.
I was born.
Yep.
Yep.
That was a start. So far, so good. 1-0. So you're born in Halifax, and you know, having toured with One Direction and been through like a bunch of these areas, it's kind of seeming like the middle of nowhere. It's not. It's a small.
It's kind of in the middle. Yeah, it's kind of in the middle. It'd be like somewhere in Connecticut, I guess, to New York.
Why? How does your family end up there?
Because houses were cheap up north. Mm-hmm. You know, you could sell a flat in London and buy a 4-bedroom house up north for when I speak to my parents about it, it's like proper old school. It cost 30 grand or something like that, you know, and I don't know what that is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, houses were much cheaper up north. So they moved there. They were starting a family and I think they wanted space.
Art was a big part of your childhood. What kind of music was played at home?
I mean, the Beatles, very much so. Elton John. We listened to a lot of Irish trad music. My dad was obsessed with bands like Planxty and the Chieftains, and Van Morrison had made a trad album called Irish Heartbeat, and there's a band called Watson and Carthy. They're a bit more like British trads. So a lot of that. Joni Mitchell, Stevie Wonder, like constantly. Yeah, Dylan. A lot of Dylan. I found myself gravitating towards the early years of Dylan, though. I never really liked.
From blood on the tracks, I think.
I can still listen to it and really appreciate it, but I find myself Times They Are Changing and Free Will and Bob Dylan are like two of my like most spun records. They're just perfect. But yeah, a lot of that. I'm trying to think who else, but mostly that.
What's the first time you got an instrument that you played?
Piano. And I gave it up to play guitar and sort of forgot that I can still sit down and play it a little bit, but I wish I carried it on. It just seemed such a like pointless instrument once I had the guitar, because I was like, well, I can take the guitar anywhere. Why would I play the piano? And
no black keys on a guitar.
Yeah, but it's only when I got older I was like, I wish I'd carried that on. It would be great, like, to have that ability.
Your brother is also a musician.
Yeah, he does like classical, so his cuts are different to mine and yours. So he had a song that was like, did you watch 28 Years Later?
Yeah.
You know, when they're running across the thing and it's like it's the beautiful water and blah blah blah, and they're getting chased. That the song that plays there, my brother made.
That's cool.
But so he does like soundscapes for movies and TV shows.
Do you guys support each other?
100%, yeah. He's done arrangement on every single album. He did arrangement for Perfect, Joker and the Queen, in other words, on this record.
When you guys were children, were you guys making music together?
No, we didn't actually really get on as kids. I'd say we got on until high school, and then
what happened?
Teenagers, you sort of get in your own friend circles, and then I remember both of us. And I think back now, I'm actually like, that was actually quite fucked up on my mum. But both of us moved out of home the same week. I moved out like to London and my brother moved out to university. And when we came back that Christmas, we were then just best friends. So I think just us having a bit of independence and, you know, being out in the world and being like, fuck, actually, family's pretty important. And I think coming back was, yeah.
As a parent, does that affect how you view your childhood?
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think I have a leg to stand on with my kids. Like if my daughter at 16 was like, I'm going to pursue this, what can I say?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bizarre thing to be a songwriter post children. Did that, like, having children, how did that affect your songwriting?
I don't think it's affected my songwriting, but it's definitely affected my schedule. So I'm like, my work is around them rather than the other way around. Like, because they have a very specific, strict schedule of you get up at this time, you do pack lunch, you do school drop off, and then I'll go to the studio, and then I'll finish the studio and go and pick them up from school, and then my day's done. Whereas before, like, I think I would have dragged on a bit more. You would have gone till like 9, 10 p.m., had a drink, had some food, maybe like listen to the songs and blah, blah, blah. I'm a lot more focused now. There's no meandering. I go in, I do the job, and then I go home, rather than like, I look back at some of like creating these records that I've made where you are kind of focused in the day and then you kind of meander for a little bit and then you go back and be a bit focused and then meander for a little bit and then you go back and be a bit focused. Whereas this is like 9 till 2, I'm in and then I'm out completely.
Yep. I speak this language. Okay, so you know you're at home. You're listening to all classics. Are your first songs all? Do they sound like those artists?
No, they just sound like Damien Rice knockoffs. Yeah.
Okay, fair.
Because he was the reason I wanted to start writing music. So I was just obsessed with O, and I guess all of my first songs were trying to write songs from O, without knowing that actually O comes from like years of experience and heartbreak, and I'm there being 13, being like, I feel it, man. You know, right? Yeah.
What's the first song?
The first song I ever wrote was called Typical Average Teen, and I wrote it when I was 11, even before I was a teenager.
Do you know how it goes?
Yeah.
There's a guitar?
Yeah. It was like, strings on my guitar are rusty. Even my best friends don't trust me. Everybody thinks I must be crazy. 'Cause I'm your typical average teen, if you know what I mean.
So do you have this skill set that you can just pick up? I always assume that when somebody has a discography of their own, of, you know, when I write a song for somebody, it goes out. I'm not out there playing it.
Yeah.
Do you have the skill set that I could basically pick out any song and you can remember the lyrics?
Well, let's test it.
Do you, like, when you perform live, do you have a teleprompter?
No. I honestly think that's a very slippery slope once you start having one of them. Anytime that I've had one, because sometimes you perform with people that have them and you have the song up there and I go, oh, this is actually, it's pretty nice. It's quite easy. And I know that the moment I get one, you're going to lose something and then you're just constantly doing it. And I have like artist friends that like, you'll be in a scenario and the guitar will be passed around and they can't remember their biggest song because it's always on a teleprompter, and I just don't want to get to that point. You know? Yeah,
it's also, it's the muscle, for me, it's muscle memory. You know, that it seems like that's when I remember stuff better, is if I've actually like rehearsed it.
Yeah.
But if I were to say like, I'm just picking out what are album tracks, but if I were to say like grade 8.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all going to be in the same key. My mind is a warrior. My heart is a foreigner. My eyes are the color of red like a sunset. Yeah.
We're going to go through different songs that are not hits out of these albums. Let's just go and do Bloodstream.
Oh yeah. Nice. I've been spinning out for time. Couple women by my side. I got sinning on my mind. Sipping on red wine. But I do play Bloodstream quite often.
Yeah, fair. That's a good song. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Supermarket Flowers.
Took the supermarket flowers from the windowsill. I threw the day-old tea from the cup. Backed up the photo album Matthew had made. Memories of a life that's been loved. I reckon I'll probably know all of them.
That's pretty incredible, man. I mean, I think maybe Bublé is the only other person that I know that can like just really know their discography that well. And a lot of his are covers, so this is slightly different. But it's like it's such a
Yeah,
unique
I'm trying to
skill set.
think.
Okay, so we're going back to the beginning. You just, you wrote average teenage, what was it?
Typical average teen.
Average teen. It's, pretty sophisticated rhyme, so you weren't starting from nothing. Something I think so.
If you know what I mean.
If you, not that part.
No.
The pre-chorus, first half of the chorus. I didn't hear the rest of the song. I don't know where we are. But that song is like, it's not nothing,
No, the recording of it is not great though. I think now playing it, being a professional singer and performer, it sounds a lot better than when I recorded it when I was 13.
Yeah. So take me from, I'm going to show my family, hey guys, I just wrote a song, or friends.
Yeah. Well, my dad, do you know what? I think the key to my confidence as a kid was my dad never being honest with me. My dad was just always like, this is great. Well, do more. And actually, listening back, he was lying, like it wasn't great at all, but he was really, really encouraging. And I think that that like really helped me go, oh, cool. Yeah, I'll write some more songs. I really think like the key to any child having an ability in later life is like having confidence built in their early years, knowing that they can do stuff. And I think that even in my head, I'm like, I know I'm bad at geography. I know I'm bad at maths. I know I'm bad at English. I know I'm bad at science because I was bad and I was never given encouragement and my confidence just left. And me as a 34-year-old, I know I don't need them, but I don't think I can ever get to a point where I can be confident in stuff like that. Whereas with music, my dad was just always super, super, super encouraging, even at the points where he probably was being too nice,
Would you encourage your kids to do music?
Yeah, I think I would actually, because it's brought me so much happiness. I think the music industry has been an interesting roller coaster ride in my life. I wouldn't say it's been negative, but I would say that I would have to give my kids like pep talks a lot of like, this is what it is. Because I think the music industry is quite a foul place.
Really?
At times. Man, it is. You fucking know it is. It's not a great environment for teenage kids going into it, having confidence built, having confidence destroyed. Like it's not. And even now, like you'll have artists come in, have like 2 or 3 hits, be built up, and then just not physically dropped by a label, but just like the public forgets them and moves on, and then they are famous for the rest of their life, but then can't like I don't know, get it back again. And then you're just sort of like in this like no man's land where everyone thinks that you're really wealthy and successful and you're really recognizable, but you're struggling. And I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
fame and wealth are very different things.
Yeah, I would have to kind of speak to my kids a lot if they were going to get into the industry, especially as well because they're going to go into it with a famous dad who makes music, and there's so much baggage that comes with that as well. And I remember being on sets as a teenager with famous people's kids, and no one wanted them to do well. It was just, they were there and they would want someone like me to do well because I was, new up and coming and blah, blah, blah. And there's baggage that comes with just being related to someone, and they think that, they bought your success, even if you have success and you have to work. So it's all I think it's a very layered, nuanced thing with children. And I think I'll speak to them throughout. And yeah.
If you could do music and not be famous, would you take that now?
No, because I love performing, and I think inherently to be on stage, people have to know who you are because you're on stage and they're looking at you. So no, because I'd say 50% of my love for music comes from the buzz of being on stage, and 50% comes from the buzz of writing songs, and everything in between is just noise. Right. So I don't know, and I don't think you can pick and choose it because I often mourn for the normality of life with children. Like I can't take my kids to the zoo and normal shit like that. But there's so many other things in my life that I can do because of where my career's gone. So it's a balance of, I can't be where I am without losing this and gaining this. But if I wasn't where I am, I would have this and not have that. I can't think like that.
Is there a place in the world where you're not known?
No. Used to be Japan, and then Shape of You came out. Japan used to be the place I used to go on holiday, and then Shape of You came out, and never again.
Is there a time where you can become anonymous, or is it too late for that?
New York's all right. Brooklyn's like Brooklynites are kind of almost offended when they see a famous person. I feel they're sort of like, you're blowing up our spot. So yeah. I get left alone in Brooklyn.
That's really funny. So let's go back to, your first times performing are on the street. What about busking changed the way you wrote songs?
I think you can't be a shoegazing quiet singer-songwriter when you're performing like that. You have to grab people's attention and make people care. So I think my songs became a bit more bombastic, I guess is the word, and exciting. I would drop in funnier things, like I would make sure my lyrics had like things that would catch people's attention. I think it changed. Like no one has time to like dig into the intricacies of what a line means when you're singing busking. Like you just have to catch their attention. And I think a song like You Need Me did that. It was just, who the fuck is this like fat ginger kid with a small guitar saying, you need me, I don't need you. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You need me, I don't need you. And then suddenly you're like in, and at least you're interested, That's
really funny. Did you make money from busking?
I made enough to like get around. I never had rent because I just stayed on mates or promoters' couches. So I didn't have like that overhead. My overhead was more food and trains, like tubes. So I didn't have to make my security guard's just taking his shirt off for some reason. I didn't make like vast amounts of money, but I didn't need vast amounts of money to exist. I probably made £20 a day, maybe, which is kind of all you need for food and, well, maybe not now, but yeah, food and the occasional train ticket.
When you're performing in front of people and it's like, and you have an open guitar case, it's pretty vulnerable. Like you're not guaranteed, there's no guaranteed money or anything like that. Did your ego withstand the inevitable jokes from your friends? Or were they supportive?
No. Is Josh here? He's outside. Josh, my mate, who's on tour with me, he cooks. He, when I was a teenager, rung me up and pretended to be Zane Lowe and was like, because Zane Lowe used to run like the show on Radio 1 that broke people. And Josh pretended to be Zane Lowe, being like, you've got the hottest record in the world. And my friends always took the piss out of me, always. Yeah. And you kind of putting yourself out there like that until it's successful, it is embarrassing because you've got nothing to show for it. And I think the only solace you can find is, but you love it. Like I loved performing, I loved writing songs, and I was like, I'm not going to do anything else. I enjoy this. But yeah, it is embarrassing to, all your friends go to university and then they start getting jobs and they're comfortable, they have money and blah, blah, blah. And you're the one that turns up not having showered for 4 days, wearing the same socks for a week and having slept on some random.
Why didn't you give up?
Huh?
Why didn't you give up?
Didn't I give up? I didn't have a plan B. Like there was no plan B. Yeah. It was just, I wasn't good at school, so I didn't get good grades to go to university. And it was just, I was always going to be in music.
You're such an articulate writer. Where did you learn to speak so eloquently, having also been bad at school?
Well, I don't think being bad at school necessarily ties in with not being eloquent at all. There's lots of people I know that were like excluded from school who are rappers who have far bigger vocabularies than I have. Sure. So yeah, I don't know if that's part and parcel connected.
You get discovered by Jamie Foxx. That's weird. That's so unusual.
Yeah. That, I think, built my confidence again. I was on the acoustic scene in London for years, and I was never the best person on the bill ever, and I was the youngest.
Who are some of the people you played with?
Cal Lavelle, who is a writer on Shivers. She
Crazy.
Yeah, her. There aren't people that you would really know, to be honest. Passenger, gigged a lot with Passenger. Yeah, when I was a teenager. Yeah, but I was always the youngest, so I was always in and amongst it, but I was never the best. Everyone was like 26, I was like 17, and you know, you do those acoustic gigs over and over and over again. You just blend in. I was just another acoustic singer songwriter trying to be James Blunt, David Gray, Damien Rice. Like I just blended in, and I started doing poetry nights. And there was a collective called Po Jazzy, and there was a poet there called Elizabeth who was American, and she was like, I've got a guy who runs this thing called Fly Poet in LA. I can get you a show there if you can get yourself out there. So I used a bunch of money that I'd sold from CDs. I bought a plane ticket to Los Angeles. I came out, I played Fly Poet at the Savoy Entertainment Theatre in Inglewood and played that gig. And then John, who ran the gig, was then like, I can get you other gigs. So we started doing other poetry nights. So I played R&B live at the Key Club. Do you remember that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Blast from the past. And then one of the gigs that he got me on was this gig at the Foxhole. And I played the Foxhole, which was Jamie's club. I met Jamie's manager, who said, Jamie does a Sirius XM radio show. Do you want to come on it? So I went on the radio show. And then whilst on the radio show, Jamie was just like, I like you. Do you want to just come back to my house? We're doing parties all week. Use my studio, whatever. And so I went back with him to his house. Kind of embarrassing. I got a yellow cab, and he lives like miles away, and it was like a 2.5 hour drive. I was broke, and I got there. The bill for the taxi was like $300-400, and I just went in. And I was like, "Can someone get that?" And just one of his people came out and paid for the cab. But yeah, kind of embarrassing. But yeah, and then I was there for a bit, and I think I went back to the UK being like, I was in LA for a month, and I achieved that. I know I can do this here. Like the UK is about as big as California. If I can do that in LA in a month, I can definitely break the UK. And I went in with just a different confidence and energy.
When I was trying to get into bigger sessions here, and I had like some decent sized cuts, but it wasn't until I went on a trip to London, and I worked with Steve Mack and Robson and Fraser and all these guys that were in that circuit that were kind of like at the higher level of the UK circuit. Yeah. And then when I came back, I was like, oh, well, he was just there, and started working with those people. And it was like leaving home has a tremendous value. I
tell people this about Los Angeles. I have a friend that made that movie Once.
Yeah.
John Carney. He's made like a lot of amazing films, but he made Once. They won the Oscar for Once for the best original song. And he moved to Los Angeles to be like, that's where the work is. And he said that once he was here, he would go to meetings, but meetings would get cancelled because they knew that he was around and like, we'll catch you next week. And then when he moved back to Dublin, everyone started calling again. And then when he'd come to town, it would be so like, it would matter that he was there, and it'd be important, and the meetings would be in, and meetings would be had, and things would be done. And there's something, I find this living in Suffolk, in Ipswich, like when I come to America, it matters. I'm not part of the furniture here. Sometimes it takes longer to get the wheels rolling because, you know, there'd be sometimes I haven't been here for like 5 years or something, but like I do think there is something about living elsewhere that helps.
When does Elton John show up?
2010. So I was on the circuit gigging. My friend Lester Clayton really knew this guy called Just Jack really well. Just Jack was pretty big and doing a tour. And Jack was like, I need a support act. Lester, do you know anyone? Lester ran a night that I used to play. Lester said, get Ed on it. And so I went on Just Jack's tour, and I met my now manager, Stuart, who was a manager at Elton John's Rocket Management. So that was 2009 I got with Stuart. And then I think I met Elton 2010. But it was very much like a mentoree relationship.
The switch between, you're building your team, you've been here, you have all this confidence. Still different than like A-Team blows open all the doors.
Yeah.
You know, like you sign with
This is A-Team. A-Team was written around this time though.
Okay.
So, and
That's
A-Team, I
interesting.
put out A-Team independently in April 2010. And, you know, it started off maybe like 100,000 views on YouTube, which at the time was huge for me. But then it like built steam throughout the year.
Yeah.
And I was doing festival stuff and different tours and blah, blah, blah. And that's when the December of that year, 2010, was when I signed a record deal. And instead of being like put on a shelf for development, they just started working A-Team. So it went from like minor, maybe A-Team charted at like 150 or something like that, to then going to radio and then being worked at radio and then it selling a lot of copies. And then we took it outside of the UK and went to Europe and America and Asia. And
you signed to Ed Howard, right?
yeah,
He seems like a good egg.
he's a really good egg. He's a really, really good egg.
NMPA is our lead sponsor yet again. What is the National Music Publishers Association? What do publishers have to do with songwriters anyway? Well, unlike artists who can be unsigned artists, there is no such thing as an unsigned writer. You can be a self-published, a co-published, or a published writer. Publishers only make money if songwriters make money. So, NMPA goes and fights for you. They go to Congress, they go and support the community, they fight DSPs to get you paid more. That's what they do. They fight for you, and they fight for this podcast. So thank you for fighting for songwriters, NMPA. Thank you for fighting for us, too. Okay, so I use Splice, and I'm pretty sure every producer who listens to this uses Splice, but if you don't, you need to start using Splice. They have the most incredible licensing library that you can go through for any kind of samples you can think of, but they take care of their original creators. In fact, they just came out with a beta version of their AI suite. Unlike its competitors that we know that may not take care of the original creators, every time you use Splice's AI tool, it triggers a licensing event for those original creators. So there's not a better company that I can think of right now that you can use where you can use the efficiency of AI and also know that you're taking care of the creators. And that is Splice. Was writing A-Team, you know, it's what you post it, you're like, oh, this is pretty good. But when do you start, you know, when do you start seeing like, oh, this is a different level than anything I predicted? Because your mentors, or your, I don't know, mentors isn't the right word, but like the Damien Rices of the world, who's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think he probably scratched his ceiling. Chart wise, didn't even get
for
to
me.
like
It
an
wasn't.
A-Team thing.
It wasn't chart wise because I feel like even back then the charts were like you could put CD singles on pre-orders and do like press tours and blah blah. You could sort of chart positions could be
manipulated.
Not manipulated because people still have to buy it. But in like now you release a song and you work it and it might work. Whereas back then you could tell whether a song was gonna chart well because you would have a 6-week run into it of pre-orders and radio play and blah blah blah. So less manipulation and more like focused working of it. Whereas now songs come out. How do you know? How do you know? And how do you work it? Like it's just the song comes out and it might connect. It might not connect. It's if you go on radio, maybe that works. If you do a TikTok, maybe that works. There's no specific way. Whereas I think in 2010, 2011, there was a really like rigid, you put the song to radio, you get it on Radio 1's C list, and then you put the CD single up for pre-order, you put the iTunes up for pre-order, and then it goes to B list, and then it goes to A list, and then the song comes out, you do a TV performance, and then you move on. And that was very much the way to do it back then.
You know, a lot of what we talk about now is about world building. And if you were to plan a career like yours, you know, what was it, Suyan Stevens? Is that how you pronounce his name? You know, when he did like he did the Michigan album, and then he did Come Feel the Illinois, and that theory at the time supposedly was that he was going to do one for all 50 states. And you coming in with, you know, plus to start and knowing that you're going to go through the mathematics and now we're into a new era. It's so smart because it shows a label in the fan base, like stick with me because there's something to look forward to. And even crazier, you start your biggest hit to start was an acoustic vocal.
Yeah.
You couldn't have planned that better.
It wasn't planned. It was just the momentum of A-Team
amazing.
was around. Yeah, the momentum of A-Team was happening.
Why Lego House to follow A-Team?
Well, You Need Me followed A-Team, and then we went to Lego. It was You Need Me.
Oh, interesting.
A-Team, You Need Me, Lego House, Small Bump, Drunk, Give Me Love. Those are the 6 singles from Plus. I don't know. Lego House definitely felt like a more slam dunk pop song than A-Team's very much like singer-songwriter world. You Need Me's very much acoustic hip-hop world, and Lego House felt very... This is for pop radio, you know. Ironically, Lego House was never a hit in the States. We only really had A-Team on that record.
Getting sort of famous at this point in your hometown, you know, how much did the success of those songs start to change who you were perceived as at home?
Yeah, I mean, massively. I think, you know, nothing has really come out of my area like that. So it wasn't like it wasn't like it, like if you become famous in Manchester, there's been lots of famous bands that have come out of Manchester, but I think it was different. I had friends become weird. I had family become weird. I had like just people I'd known for years and years become weird.
What does that mean to you? When people it's hard to explain this to people who, when you have a certain access, especially in something like music, you start getting phone calls from everybody about their cousins, friends, music.
I think
how was it weird for you?
I think the frustrating thing for me was like, I had 3.5 years of real struggle that I was sort of ridiculed for by these people. And then suddenly, as soon as it works, I'm then the like solution to their problems. Mm-hmm. And I've grown up as a quite a like friendly, nice, giving guy. And so I would just do the things that they asked me to do. And looking back, like I had people that were like older than I am now leaning on me for money when I was 19. And I'm now 34. And I'm like, I would never, ever, ever be leaning on a 19-year-old to get them to fix my problems or like guilt trip them that because they're not doing this, then this is fucking up for me and blah, blah, blah. I look back now with more of a like, with more cynicism and just like,
I think some of the darkest parts of the music business is the people outside the music business in that way. I think that maybe isn't just to music. That might be success across all, not just even art. You know, if you're successful in any field, I think some people just assume that you're working for everybody.
Yeah. I think it becomes and this is why I got rid of my phone and moved to iPad and email. You need some separation from it. You can't be available to everyone for everything at all times, because then you lose everything of yourself. You need to be able to be who you are and compartmentalize all of that.
Yeah, I've said behind your back before. I've said, look, if Ed Sheeran doesn't need a phone, you don't either. So that's a quote that I'm gonna have put in a neon sign and put that in my studio.
I built a bowling alley at my studio, and my wife wouldn't let me build one at home because she was just like, we're weird enough, we don't need a bowling alley. So in my bowling alley, there's a neon sign saying, we're weird enough, we don't need a bowling alley.
Yeah, that's great. Who says to you, let's start getting your songs cut by people not you?
So that was pre me actually being an artist. That was my plan B, as it were. Like my plan A was always to be a songwriter performer, but it was 2008. I think I had my first cut when I was 17 on a Olly Murs album.
Oh right.
And that was always my plan, was if I can't be a performer, I will be a songwriter. Like I will make this songwriting thing work.
That was really big. Olly Murs cut at that time is pretty massive.
Yeah, well, I mean, it went double platinum. I remember that was the only level of success that I'd ever had. It was my first plaque. It was my first this, first that. And at 17, like that's a really fucking big deal.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah. So throughout that time, even A-Team time, because A-Team, I'd first met the One Direction lads. They'd just come off X Factor and they were putting their album together. And I pitched 2 songs, one of which, or maybe they cut both of them. I can't remember. I'm on most of the One Direction albums, and I can't remember which songs went on where at what time. But definitely in that first year I had a cut with One Direction, and that was another thing of trying to be, even in my breakout year, being like, I am also a songwriter as well, and I want to always have 2 feet in each side of things. I don't ever want to just be an artist or just be a songwriter. I want to be able to do both. I think it's a very important a thing to maintain, because sometimes I take my foot off the gas of being an artist and really put my foot down on the gas of being a songwriter, and vice versa. And I think it's good to have both abilities.
A lot of the songs that you have that have been cut by other people are pitch songs.
No,
it seems. I mean,
I'd say like 70-30. I'd say. Yeah. I'd say 30% of the time I'm in the studio with an artist, and 70% of the time
writing for them.
Yeah.
Who are the artists that you write best with?
As in like with.
Yeah.
Right. Jesse was always great. I think any time I've written with Taylor, but Taylor is also just a great songwriter on her own anyway. So that kind of like, and she'll usually come in with a concept that's almost done anyway. Artists, I don't know really.
What are you like when you walk in? We've never written together. When you walk into a studio, do you often come in with the idea, or do you go in and just sort of float?
A little bit of both, I think. I'm very much a dare to suck kind of guy. Like I'll go in and sort of write whatever. If we might write 3 songs and one of them will be great. We might write 5 songs and one of them or 2 of them will be great. I think like throwing ideas at the wall. I'll write hundreds of songs and finish hundreds of songs and maybe pick 10 of them.
Yeah, you're known for writing. I know other people who've written with you where you say that you'll come in and you'll write 2 songs in a day, 3 songs in a day. Don't you get tired? Don't you run out of ideas?
Oh yeah, I've definitely I go through seasons. Some seasons of my life, I'm like the Shape of You day. I wrote Strip That Down that day as well, and a song called For the Rest of Our Lives on Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, and I think there was another one. There's a day I did with Benny where we did like East Side and Love Yourself and something or other. So I'll have days where I'm just on, and then I'll have months where it's shit.
Where the songs are shit, or where you're just not writing every day?
It's just, no. I am writing every day, but the songs they're all 6 out of 10s rather than all being 10 out of 10s.
How do you have the taste with that much music?
I don't anymore. I don't know. I never know anymore. I think early on in my career, I was surefire on what songs would work and what songs wouldn't. And now, I don't know. There's a song I literally just put out, Camera, that I wrote for Equals, that everyone who I played it to at Equals was like, eh. And so it didn't go on the album. And then it sort of stuck. And then I played it to someone maybe like a year ago. They were like, why the fuck did this never come out? And then we reworked it and it came out. So like sometimes it's just, I probably have songs in my arsenal now that are on a hard drive somewhere that might come out in 10 years that might be massive. I don't know.
I love the personnel on Camera because Hodges is, dear friend, lovely, digs really deep when he writes. He really is like careful with emotion. Yeah. And then you have, Watt and Blake who can do.
It wasn't Blake, it was Louis Bell.
Louis Bell, right. Watt and Louis Bell, and who do like a whole other, a different kind of writing. Yeah. How did that session come about?
I worked with Hodges a lot. I met Hodges through Amy Wadge. We did a Nashville like Bluebird round. Like she did it with Hodges, and I went and sung Thinking Out Loud with her, and I met him then. He played the David Archuleta song Crush, and I was like, fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah. And I got in with him. I was living in Nashville at the time. We wrote First Times then, which is on my album Equals, and we just kept in touch. We ended up writing Afterglow, which is one of my biggest songs. And yeah, I've done loads of sessions with Dave. I mean, he'll tell you like I write a lot of songs. Yeah. I write a lot of songs. Yeah. But that was I'd known Watt for years. Watt was Justin's guitarist for ages, so I knew Watt. I think Watt was Cody Simpson's guitarist back in the day.
Yeah.
Because I remember doing radio shows with Cody, and then Watt was there. So like I'd known Watt for years and years and years. And so we got together. Louis had obviously done loads of Post Malone stuff that I'd loved. So we then got in, and I brought David, and Yeah, we made Camera. We made Two Step that day. That was the song that came out that day, but Camera also was written that day.
Multiply is such a big album, and it's, coming off of it's really reminiscent with like Adele having, 21 after, Chasing Pavements, and then having this string of not just like hits, but just like monster songs. Amy Wadge is also a wonderful person. You definitely surround yourself with some of the nicest folk,
Thanks.
That's notorious that from her that's, that was about when she's like ready to give up being a songwriter.
Yeah, well, we'd worked together since I was 16. She was like one of my first sessions ever. And actually looking back at it, it's kind of, she just had her first daughter. Like, I think maybe her first daughter was like a couple of weeks old or something. It was, now having kids, I'm like, holy shit, you let a 16-year-old that you'd never met into your home whilst you were doing that and then wrote songs with him. It was kind of like an amazing thing. Like, we made an EP called Songs I Wrote with Amy around that time, but she's been like one of my closest friends since the beginning. And I think because she had been a singer-songwriter herself, was always like a good sounding board.
I had a moment with an attorney that represented the gay state in
Blurred Lines.
Blurred Lines.
Yeah.
And I said that was the worst. That's the worst lawsuit, and to happen to the probably art as a whole, but certainly songwriters in my lifetime and maybe in the history of music. And she said, "You're right. It was ruled incorrectly." And she said, at least it hasn't been held up in court very well, used for precedent. And a big part of that is because of you. And I can't thank you enough on behalf of all songwriters.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Like, man, that is the most mensch thing you could do, because it would be a lot easier for you not to do it.
Yeah. I was told that so many times leading up to it. Just settle, just leave it in the past. Even when because it was about a year of behind the scenes-ness before it even went public and we're taking this to court. And I think when you haven't done something wrong and someone's saying, "Oh yeah, no, but just give him $100,000 and it will go away. This is going to cost you millions to take it to court, and it's going to be really bad PR for you and blah blah. Just give him $100,000. It will go away." And I think there's just something in the back of my head that's just like, when does that end? You do that once, you do it again, you do it again, you do it again. And part of me just wanted to like put my foot down and draw a line in the sand with it. And that's why I did it on both sides of the Atlantic. I did it in UK court and I did it in American court. And it was a hugely unpleasant experience. I'm sure Amy will talk to you about it. Like, and for both sides, no one on either side wanted to be in the courtroom. That was the thing. It wasn't like the other side were like, "We've got it." Like, you could tell everyone was like, "This has gone too far." But once you're there, you have to set precedent. And I think lots of other artists settle, and that's why it's kind of got into a commonplace thing of settling is normal. And I don't think it is ever normal to have someone accuse you of something and you still have to pay them if you haven't done it. Those court cases, it's kind of like a really dark cloud in my life. It was also in a time where a lot of like really dark shit was happening in my personal life as well.
What was happening in your personal life?
The first court case happened, my wife got diagnosed with cancer, my best friend died, and then another friend of mine died first day of the court case, and then the court case begun. And it was like all of that happened within a 7-day period. And it was,
What kept you going during that?
I have no idea. I remember not caring about the court case at all while sitting in there because I had all that shit going on. I'd be finishing the court case and going to my mate's mum's house to like help her grieve, and then going home and being with my wife, and then going back to court in the next day. And it was a really fucked up time.
Did you, were you ever able to mourn the loss of your friend?
Yeah. In a sense, I think it took a while because I was basically in that case, and then Cherry was pregnant at the time. She had the tumor, so then she had to give birth first, and then she had the operation to get rid of the tumor, and then I was on tour, and then went into the other court case, and then I think once that court case was done and all of that was over, I think then I had space to grieve and all of that.
Did you feel supported in the lawsuit by the songwriting community?
No,
Oh.
you're like the first person to like publicly say thank you, and all the emails that I got afterwards were after the fact. Once the ruling came in, I think everyone kind of thought I'd done it. Yeah,
It's so important. It's, I can't tell songwriters enough to protect your copyrights with everything you have, and publishers, protect your writers' copyrights with everything you have. Like, this is our livelihood, and it's so hard to explain. People just kind of, especially maybe one of the darker sides of the business is the people who are kind of left to deal with it are the songwriters. We're very not protected. We don't have a union. We can't do that.
And why do you think there is no union? Because I've spoken about this so many times. Like, why do you think that?
Well, we have organizations. I mean, man, I'm on the board of Sona, which you're welcome to join. And we have, I'm the co-chair of the Grammy Songwriter Composer Wing, and part of the Golden Platinum Club, co-chair of that with NMPA. Like, these are all organizations that fight for songwriters, and certainly NSAI and Nashville and Sona are trade organizations that you can be a part of and help them advocate. But we're independent contractors. If you show up to a session and they pay you to show up, then they own your asset.
Yeah,
You don't want that. So you want to be an independent contractor. That's why songwriters were looking at this is an aside, but we're looking at the Uber lawsuit, where we were hoping that the drivers for Uber would win because they're independent contractors. So if they could unionize, then we could unionize, but we can't.
yeah.
We can't, because unions are for work for hire people. And so that's like the short of it. Doesn't mean we, as I always say, like, we can't unionize, but that doesn't mean we can't unite.
Yeah.
So but it takes people like you to put your literal, money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you didn't literally put your money where your mouth is, but metaphorically. Anyway, Photograph was a big song. Don't was a big song. Does it become easy?
What, to have big songs?
That and to write them. Like,
I don't know,
was
'cause
there a
I
part
think-
of you that questioned, like?
I think it's sometimes to do with like where you're at in your life and career as well. Because I think at that time there was such a groundswell of support of me as a boy next door, could be your brother's mate who works at a pizza shop, has an acoustic guitar, and he's playing an arena. I think there was such a groundswell of that the songs sort of fell in place with the story. And I think all of that led up to Divide. And I think Divide was the commercial peak.
Yeah.
And then past then, you're not the underdog anymore. And then it's not that the songs I wrote after Divide were like any easier or any harder. It's just there's a different lens on it. I'm now like a huge global mega pop star as opposed to like the underdog who people are like rooting for. And I think that there's different seasons of a career, and I think that part has now ended, and now I'm probably entering into like kind of like, I think maybe like 6 or 7 more years where Chris Martin is now, where he's I think the word's goated, but he was like, Chris Martin was a punching bag for years, even though he's written some of the greatest songs of all time and is one of the best performers of all time. And I think it's taken a long time for people to just sort of go, yeah, actually, yeah,
Yeah, the Billy Joel documentary was a lot of that too. It's like there's some sort of you root for the underdog, then they become. Yeah. At what point were you comfortable saying I'm a pop star?
Divide, I think. Yeah, Shape of You was so ubiquitous that like it. I think like even on Multiply, like the first single of Multiply kind of was big, and Don't kind of was big. Photograph after the fact now kind of, but Photograph wasn't a top 10 single in the UK. It's just streamed lots over the last 10 years. Thinking Out Loud was my first proper hit. And then I think going into Shape of You, that became the biggest song that I'd ever had at that point. And then from there, it was like Castle on the Hill, Galway Girl, Perfect, etc., etc.
Love Yourself was, the biggest song you had outside of yourself at that point.
Yeah.
Was there a part of you that felt like you should have kept that for yourself?
Nah, because I think also, as I said, from like a keeping both feet in either being a performer and being a songwriter, it's good to be like have proven hits that have come out and there be multiple of them rather than like it be a fluke. Love Yourself is big, but so's East Side, so's 2002, so's trying to think of whatever, Cold Water, like Little Things for One Direction. They're all songs that people know that can solidify me as a songwriter. And then I have my artist stuff that can solidify me as an artist. So I think it's important to have those moments.
Did you feel pressure following up Multiply? I mean, I think
there's always pressure to follow up everything. Yeah.
Is there a point where an artist just feels, whatever this does is fine?
Yeah.
Once you get to that point, are you?
Yeah, I think there's probably a point where all artists retire from giving a fuck, and I think that's probably a healthy place to be in. I think I'm still in the pop game. I still love pop, and I think if you make pop music, you can't retire from giving a fuck, because pop music inherently you have to like work and push out and So I'm sure I'll get to that point. I'm sure where Springsteen's at right now, he retired from giving a fuck a while ago, and he just sort of makes stuff, puts it out, He just does the things that he wants. But I'm sure when he was doing Born in the USA, when he was in his 30s, as I am, he was giving a fuck.
I can't think of another artist that has albums that has very clearly songs that are aimed for, you've mastered this song belongs in a club and this song belongs at your wedding. And I mean, this one belongs in your headphones. This belongs, at the party.
I think people think it's more like planned out than it actually is. I think I write a lot of songs, and I think on an album like Divide, I picked the best songs of the best genres that I was making. So I had written a lot of songs like Castle on the Hill. I wasn't going to put all of them on the record. I picked Castle on the Hill because it was the best of those songs. Shape of You was the best of the sort of pop songs that I'd made. Galway Girl was the best of the trad songs that I'd made. Eraser was the best of the rap songs that I'd made.
The greatest hits of this
essentially,
moment of my life.
Yeah, and I'd be like, I want different points of the album and different subjects, and I'm going to write a few songs in each subject. So like Castle on the Hill was a nostalgic song about my childhood. There was a few other nostalgic songs about my childhood that I wrote that just weren't as good, but Castle on the Hill was good, and that would make the album. So yeah, I guess like a greatest hits of the album sessions.
Shape of You is just such a different level. There's like this, that author who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, who does like a TED talk about how do you follow up what's statistically an impossible thing to follow up.
Yeah.
Do you think of Shape of You in a positive light?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm not like, I love the fact that anywhere I go in the world, anywhere, I've been in like remote jungles in the middle of Cambodia with kids who don't know Western music that know Shape of You. Like it travels. So yeah, I love it. I think it opened up me to being a true global musician. And I think half of the work that I've done in India over the last 2 years is connected to Shape of You. Shape of You was my first massive hit in India, and that's when I did my first. Actually, no, that wasn't when I did my first tour there. So I must have had some sort of hit pre-Shape of You. But yeah, I like it. I would say that I am very aware that I will never top it, but then I wouldn't say that its commercial success, like its commercial success, is not reflective of the level of song it is in my catalog. Like I wouldn't say it's the best song in my catalog at all.
Yeah.
But it is massive. So I think that if it was the best song that I'd ever written and the biggest song I'd ever written, maybe I would feel different about it. But
Sure.
it's a song that I've written that happens to be massive. And there's lots of other songs that I've written that I think are really great that are kind of big. But I think my career has never been, I think because I started with A-Team and it wasn't global number one, it was a very, very long build everywhere. And then the next song I released, like Lego House, was like a long build, wasn't really a big hit anywhere. Like Drunk wasn't really a massive hit. Gimme Love wasn't a massive hit. Sing Then wasn't a massive hit. Don't wasn't a massive hit. But these were all hits that then you can tour off the back of. So I think when you have a song like Shape of You, it doesn't damage your career as much because you've got so much base level, I guess. It's a big song, but it's not even the biggest song on the set. Like it just is in the set, but it's not like if I took that out, it would make a difference.
What's a song that in your head defines you as a writer?
Perfect.
That did pretty well.
Yeah. Perfect came at a time as well after the Thinking Out Loud case where all of the chat around Thinking Out Loud in the court case was that I'd stolen the song. And, you know, I'd obviously co-written it with Amy, but that, you know, when people co-write songs, maybe they don't write the songs. And I think Perfect came, it was me being like, I'm going to write a love song that's bigger than Thinking Out Loud and I'm going to do it 100% me. And it came, I think, with a point to prove, as well as obviously it being about the first months of me falling in love with my now wife. But I think that's why I pushed it so hard.
When you have, you know, this idea of doing all the albums with a sign, then you come out with collaborations. Why do you feel the license that you can do like a mixtape in the middle of that? Didn't you feel like, oh, this is slowing down the process?
Yeah, do you know what? I had been working on some tracks at that point and it just wasn't ready. And I was in America and I'd made the Bieber tune. The Bieber tune existed. I was working with Bruno at the time. I'd worked with Travis Scott at the time. And these were all just songs that were sort of around. And it was made as a suggestion. It was originally meant to be an EP, like six songs. The suggestion was just put them on an EP, push the Bieber song, and that would be that. And yeah, my record label said to me that they would count it as an album option if I made it not an EP. So that's what I did. In hindsight, probably should have kept it as an EP. But
why do you say that?
Well, because I wouldn't call it an album. It's like a collection of songs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's an album.
Interesting.
And I think albums should be journeys and stories. And I think maybe at the point that came in my career, maybe that derailed the journey a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Well, let's jump, you know, obviously Equals comes out. Bad Habits is a big song. Took a second from, you know, some of the others that kind of like came out of the box. Do you start second guessing yourself when a song takes longer to build? No,
I started second guessing myself on collaborations. That was because it was Shape of You, Perfect, Galway Girl, Castle on the Hill. It all was happening on Divide. And I think collaborations, the Bieber song didn't go to number one. And then the Khalid song, these are all like couple of billion streams now. It's not like, it's definitely not the end of the world, but that was the first time where I was like, oh, things take a minute. And then Bad Habits came out, took a minute. Shivers took a minute. Eyes Closed took a minute. Like these are, I think it's just a lesson in not everything you do can be stratospheric instantly. You've still got to work songs. You still got to give songs breaths. And I do think it's healthy to know that, but talk about that as well, because I think so many artists are so linked and tied to the instantaneous here and now. Day one streams, oh my god, it's this. When actually like real hits, like Blinding Lights didn't go in at 1, it went in at 12, and then it slipped away, and then it built and built and built, and now is the most streamed song of all time. And that took a minute. And I sometimes think you just have to have faith in the song and not judge based on day one streams, because a lot of the time the songs that get massive day one streams aren't the songs that then go on to be, you know, they just have a moment. There are some songs that sustain that, but I think it's short-sighted to sort of dwell in the moment of that and be like, There's so much online chatter about chart positions week one or sales figures week one, or that it's all sort of like based on like that sort of here and now moment. And most of the songs that we know, or albums that become classics, or songs that have taken a while, didn't have those moments week one. And sometimes it's important to remember that.
Play is really good, man.
Thank you.
It feels like one of the things that I love about it, we started this talking about the Beatles. It feels, especially with the worldly influence, it feels like you're channeling, going and working with Ravi Shankar,
Yeah.
Working with Savan and Ilya, and then having Cirque and Blake and all these great collaborators. Obviously, you can write a song by yourself. Why do you choose to write with collaborators?
Because I think if I only wrote songs by myself, they would all sound the same eventually. They all sort of blur into one. And I think that sitting in a room with Ilya, he just brings a different energy and ideas, and Savan will bring different melodic energy and ideas, and Johnny and Blake and Circuit and Alvira and Dave and anyone that I work with helps make my craft better. And I think that there are a lot of artists that feel self-conscious about having collaborators because they want people to think that they wrote the songs. But I think if you know you can write songs, then surely working with other people to make it better makes it better, rather than
100%.
Yeah.
I know you have this new idea of going play, and you'll have stop and rewind, and when do you retire? When does Stop come out?
I don't know if Stop's a retirement record. I think Stop might be the retiring from giving a fuck record, but I don't know if Stop's going to be the retiring record. Because I still want to make records. I just I feel like I have 10 big statement pop. I wouldn't even say subtract as pop, but I have 10 big statement campaign records to do, I think. And a record like Autumn Variations, there was no campaign. There were no music videos. We didn't work the songs to radio, but I love that record. It was really fun to make. And I want to be able to still make records like that matter, but I'm not touring it for 4 years. I make a record, I put it out. And my sort of distinction with the two, same for collaborations, is if there's a colored cover, then that's the like statement record. And if it's black and white, that's a record that I just really wanted to make and really wanted to put out.
If you were to give your kids the advice when they say, I want to do music, what do you say to them right now?
Dare to suck. Pick up an instrument, try and write a song, make sure you write it. And I think that you're the same as me. You go into the studio every single day. If you didn't come into the studio, you wouldn't write a song. You need to be in it to even like get anything. So, and you need to not be worried about it being bad. We are going to all write songs that suck, but you might write 2 songs that day that suck, and 1 song might be the making of you. And I think you can't start being a songwriter unless you're just not scared to be embarrassed and fail. So I'd say to my kids, like, pick up an instrument and just write, learn to sing, sound bad, write a song that sounds bad, and then write another, and then write another, and then write another, and then eventually you will get better at it.
What songs do you want your grandkids to talk about?
I don't know, really. I think I love my debut album. I think because my debut album was written as a teenager. It was like between the ages of 15 and 19. And it's very much like, I love the idea that was written when it was and why it was and put out. And that was the breakthrough of everything. So I think maybe I'd love them to like that album. I think Perfect, because obviously it will be about their grandmother. Subtract as a record, like I feel is one of the most important records in my discography, even though it's not the most commercially successful. I think it's definitely like up there with being as important as Plus. Yeah, I don't know.
What era of streaming do you belong to?
2014 to 2019, I'd say. Yeah. I think Bad Habits and Shivers were like after my peak dominance, I guess. They were still massive, but like I'd say 2014, 2019 was my my moment sounds so weird, but that was like the time where like I was locked in.
Are you a good dad?
Yeah, I think so. I think you'd have to ask my wife, but yeah, I think so. I'm definitely like a present dad, and I think that when you are a father who is in the music industry, you kind of have to like, it's not even like sacrifice anything, but you have to be like, parenthood and my family is actually more important than working hard and success. So like, if this is going well and this is going all right, that's success. But if this was going super, like if I was having, 5 number ones off this record, but me and Cherry weren't together anymore and I wasn't seeing my kids, like that wouldn't be great either. So it's a balance of the two.
Yeah, and the thing about balancing is like it's a balancing act. Like it's never fully balanced.
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to be like this push and pull. Do your kids know who their dad is?
My eldest does, yeah, but not really. But she kind of does, but not really. I don't think it's like clocked. She goes to school, so kids do speak to her. But yeah, yeah. But on the like, so the 2014, 2019 period where it was locked, that was like 100% work all the time. No personal life, no time for anything else. And I think that's why it was successful. And I think after 2019, I had my first daughter in 2020, and your priorities shift. And I'm not working 100% of the time, I'm working 40% of the time. And you do see a knock-on effect of that. I think to be in the upper echelon of the like pop game, you got to be like all in. That's got to be your entire world. And I think that is not sustainable, especially if you want to have a family.
I mean, as I keep saying, like, you just don't want your kids to resent your plaques.
No, you want them to be proud of them and know that you were at, like, I love that you live 3 minutes away and your life is centered around.
I have a Cars sticker on this.
Amazing. Do you know what? I started watching Cars and I didn't fuck with it.
You didn't?
I didn't know. I know that's going to be quite controversial.
Really hard. Cars 3 is pretty. You watch that and then.
Do you know what I really fucked
email
with?
Me after you see that.
Zootopia.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Fucking great. The bit with the sloth. Just.
It's pretty classic.
Fucking great.
It's so funny. Dads can talk about this. We can talk about Bluey. I mean, maybe you guys don't mess with Bluey yet, but that's a.
Of course we fucking mess with
so
Bluey.
Good.
Yeah, mate. Bluey sometimes makes me feel like a bad dad because the dad's so cool in it. I'm like, I want to be that cool.
We were having a writing camp here, and a bunch of people outside in the back, and everyone's going around talking about who would they be starstruck by, and I said whoever does the voice for Bluey, or for Bandit. Who would you be starstruck by? Do you get starstruck?
I get starstruck by like sports people. Like, I think that with music, because we're behind the curtain, it's not that impressive. Like you meet people and we all kind of do the same thing. Yeah. I think with sport, I don't know, I met Messi and it was just crazy. Cool. Was
he excited
Messi.
To meet you?
Yeah. Yeah, I spoke because his wife's a fan and she's come to a few gigs. The first time I met him was, I've met him a few times now, but I was at a Paris Saint-Germain game. And he came and he met me and he shook my hand. And I was like, hey man, if you want to ever come to a show with your wife, blah, blah, I'm talking for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then his like handler just comes up and just whispers in my ear and goes, "He not speak English." And I'd be talking to him for about 2 or 3 minutes and just be kind of nodded at me like this.
That's really funny. Well, thanks for doing the podcast. I get the feeling we'll do this again.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's great. Really, really great.
But I mean it, man. There's your career coincides with mine in many ways. Like I had just written the follow-up to Fuck You for CeeLo. And I was in with CeeLo when Mike Karen sent me an email saying, "Do you want to write with this redhead? It's going to be in LA."
That would have been the trip I wrote "Kiss Me."
Yeah, well, I should have done that session instead of the one.
What's your? I asked Sarvan this the other day because Sarvan's had so many hits. What's your biggest hit that you just don't tell anyone about? The one that's like massively successful that you're like.
Oh, I think the reality is like I put in order. I really am proud that my house was as big as it was, but I know that around certain people I should say Dangerous Woman first because they'll be somehow like it like has a different cred than the song that was in every commercial at every single sports
I remember
thing.
when My Hairs came out and being like, that's a fucking great tune.
Well, I mean, look, man.
He's got some slappers as well.
Yeah.
Slappers.
I mean, we'll go to we can. I know we got to wrap soon, but
what's in the last 10 years? What's the song that you've been most jealous of? Songwriting wise, not success wise. Songwriting wise.
Song I'm most jealous of. I mean, the effortlessness of Love Yourself is really annoying. It's really annoying because it's like it sounds like the song that should just it should have taken like weeks to whittle your way into that, and I just know that did not take you weeks to write, and it was probably just like.
Well, it also like we didn't really know at the time if it was any good. We just wrote it, and then it was in a pile of songs that were getting pitched. It wasn't even like we're going to keep that. It was just a song that we'd written that then got pitched.
What song would you be jealous of? What song are you jealous that you did not write?
Jealous by Labyrinth, I think, is one of the best songs ever.
So good.
Yeah. In the last year, though, have you heard Sky Newman Family Matters?
No.
Listen to that afterwards. There's another song. I'll write these two down. There's a guy called Aaron Rowe who's written a song called Hey Ma. So Hey Ma and Sky Newman Family Matters. I'd probably be jealous of Hey Ma because it's a kind of singer-songwriter song, whereas like the Sky Newman one is so specific to her that I couldn't sing that. But maybe I'm jealous I wasn't involved in the writing of it. But those two are fucking great songs.
The Rosalia album, the first one that came out, was a bunch of songs that like I listened to and I was taken like to a different planet.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't understand what she's saying. The cadences are so bizarre. The production's incredible. It's melodic. I feel something. And I can't do that kind of writing. I think that's where like sometimes the jealous stuff comes from. Maybe it's more envy. Like I know how to write.
Yeah.
I know I could write the song, but why didn't I write that? That's like that's annoying to me. Like I love it and I'm like envious that I didn't think of it. But then when I think of like the albums that I love most, it's like stuff I can't do.
You can't, yeah. I find that with Arijit Singh, like the first song that I heard of his was a song called Tum Hi Ho.
That's the one that's on Sapphire?
No. That's it. Like it was from a Bollywood movie called Ashiki 2. I'm gonna write these songs down for you because in the same way that Rosalia album, because I'm spellbound by that Rosalia album as well. But Tum Hi Ho, when you listen to it, you're like, I can't sing like that. I can't write like that. It's like his melodic toolkit is so specific to him that like no one else could do that song. I'll write these down for you so you can listen to them, but they're pretty fucking great.
Well, I mean, I'd say call me, but that's not going to happen.
We'll trade emails.
But we'll trade emails. I really appreciate you, man. Thanks.
Nice
for coming
one.
on.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. It was produced by me and Joe London in association with Mega House Music Group. If you like this episode, go give us a rating at wherever you listen to your podcast, and make sure to follow us at And the Writer Is on all your socials. We'll see you next week.